Hello, London Reelers. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever the hell it is that you celebrate this time of year. My name is Brian Rose. I'm coming at you from London, England. I am really enjoying the holiday season. I normally get the hell out of Dodge for this time of year. I usually go to Brazil or LA or Thailand or somewhere warm. But for some reason, I'm really enjoying the holidays, Christmas, and the whole thing. It's very trippy. So wherever you are, I know this can be a crazy time of year. They call it the silly season. You might be going home to be with family who you can't stand, or maybe you're not with certain people, so you're feeling edgy about that. Let me tell you, from someone who's done it both ways, that either way it's okay. I spent many a Christmas day on my own. I did it for probably the first 5 or 10 years of my life in a way to toughen myself up. So I remember a few times in New York City with myself and an egg roll, because those were the only restaurants open on on Christmas. So there's a tip: go Chinese if you're solo. And I did it to kind of toughen myself up, and maybe it worked, I don't know. But I'm here to say that either way, whatever you're doing, whether you're solo or with family, it's character building. So, get through it and it's going to be fine. This week on the show, we've got Deri John Llewellyn-Davies. This guy is an ultramarathoner, and he's also climbed 5 of the 7 highest peaks on each continent in the world. And he had a lot of things to say, but he talked about his near-death experience when he was climbing Mount McKinley in Alaska, one of his failed climbs, actually, and how it just really gave him perspective, because he was also going through the financial crisis in '08, and it was quite a parallel to draw, how he was about to die and about to go bankrupt. And he had some really good perspective, so check that out. Also, we had some wonderful female energy in the studio with Sonia Doubell as a guest host. You might have first met her back in April for her episode, The Secret Bliss. She's a yoga instructor. She's done everything. She's been an actress, model, singer, and she was great to have in studio. But also at the end, she talked about her soon-to-be-born child. She's 9 months pregnant, and she came to the studio. I was fully ready to give birth if necessary. I wasn't looking forward to it, but luckily she kept the child during taping. And you girls out there will be either happy or sad to know that Sonia makes 9 months pregnant look sexy. So I don't know how she does it, but she talked about how this her daughter, who's going to be born in a week or so, is an ayahuasca baby. And you can watch me with about 15 minutes left, shut the fuck up and listen to her talk about how her ayahuasca journey in Brazil in March, I believe it was, led to her pregnancy. And it was pretty heavy stuff, whether you're a guy or a girl. So tune in for that. It's a fantastic show, a lot of interesting perspective, to say the least. As usual, we're sponsored by Audible. I am currently listening to The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It's an excellent listen. If you want to get a free copy of that, go to audiblepodcast.com/London Reel, and you can get a free book if you sign up for a 12-month subscription, and you can cancel it anytime. So I'm listening to these 48 laws, and it's funny because I've used some of these laws working in the city for many years without knowing the specific names of those laws. So it's an interesting book to kind of read and try to see the way that you end up acting, in a power situation. And apparently it's the most requested book in the American prison system. So there you go. Check that out. And also we're sponsored by Onnit. I am loving the Alpha Brain. I've been back on it now for about 2 weeks since my last ayahuasca session, and I've been taking 1 a day, about to go up to 2 a day, and just loving it. Makes me feel very crisp. So I'm going to be on the Alpha for a while. I'm also waiting for my Hemp Force protein in the mail. So as soon as that gets here, I'll give you my review. I've heard good things, but I want to check it out myself. So I'll let you know on both of those products. They also have Shroom Tech Sport, Cordyceps mushrooms, Nick and I love it for hard training sessions. If you do any jiu-jitsu, any Thai boxing, any kettlebells, anything with heavy anaerobic cardio, Cordyceps mushrooms are your friend. So check it out. It's the Shroom Tech Sport. And with all of those products, if you type in the coupon code LondonReal, you get 10% off and keep this show free so we can get it out everywhere in the world, which is what we're doing right now. If you want to watch any of our faces, or if you want to take a look at the lovely Sonia Doubell, go to our YouTube channel. It's London Real TV. You can watch all of the episodes. Also, come check us out on Twitter. We got some great Twitter fans now. Great back and forth with Twitter right now. Really loving Twitter more than ever. And we're also on Facebook. And you can check out our website, londonreal.tv. We've got a forum there, getting very popular. So check that out. Enjoy your holidays, whether it be solo with egg roll or at home going crazy with mom. And here's Deri Llewellyn-Davies and Sonia Doubell. This is London Real. I am your host, Brian Rose. Joining us instead of Mr. Nick Gabriel, who is currently drinking massive amounts of ayahuasca in Peru, is the lovely Sonia Doubell. Thank you for being here. You might have seen her on her first episode here, which was The Secret Bliss, which was what, February, March?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a while back.
Was it before I went to Peru?
Yes, it was. No, when you got back from
Brazil.
From Brazil on your ayahuasca adventure.
Yeah.
And now you are extremely pregnant.
Yes.
I'm glad you made it and didn't have birth. A really selfish thing to say.
Me too. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, and also joining us is Deri John Llewellyn-Davies, who has done so many things. I don't know where to start. He has climbed 5 of the highest mountains on Earth. He has ran the Marathon des Sables. Am I pronouncing that right?
I don't know. I'm not French, so I can't comment.
Okay, but which is 6 marathons across the Sahara Desert. Wrap your head around that. And while he was doing these feats, he also managed to write this book, which is Life's Great Adventure, available on Amazon, which it talks a lot about your adventures, but it seems also more almost a book about philosophy and as far as what you got, from those adventures. So welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Really, really good to be
I
here.
lucked out to have you today as well. Fantastic.
Yes.
Lucky me.
Very lucky. You don't look like the guy who's running through the Sahara Desert. Do you get that a lot, where people look at you and they're like, I don't see the connection? It's not because you don't have a tan, but...
What do you mean? I don't understand.
So dapper.
So why would you do such a thing like that?
The Sahara?
Yeah.
Everyone goes to the Sahara. It's interesting. Whenever I'm talking about adventure or life, everyone's like, it's the Sahara thing that kind of... That's the big one for people, the interesting one.
But even in your book, you said that was the hardest thing you've ever done.
It's interesting. Since I wrote the book, I've done something harder in a bit in a different way. I did an Ironman 3 months ago. So and that was harder, but in a very different way. So it's I think that everything's different. Every adventure I do is different. I think some people are attracted, like you and your jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff. Some people are sort of drawn to one thing and a mastery in one element of their life, which I totally honour. And it's just about, we use within Life's Great Adventure, that the philosophy, if you want to call it that, is just living a great adventure. Now, in my context, it happens to be adventure. It is really drawing to the remotest places on Earth and exploring the greatest places on Earth through adventure and running and climbing, and I like physical activity.
You weren't always into this, were you? This is something that started after, just a little bit of history. You were a rugby player, and then you had an injury, and that was the catalyst.
Yeah.
And how did that sort of all happen?
Well, as my name suggests, I'm Welsh, so we weren't allowed to have a round ball in our school in Wales.
They don't play rugby in Wales?
So, no, round ball. Soccer, bad word. Okay. So it's all rugby. Incredible, passionate nation for rugby, as South Africa is
very
clearly.
Much so.
So I was brought up with rugby, and I think sometimes in our lives we have a passion, a core to what we do, and sometimes that's taken away. Now, this can happen in many contexts.
And that can be a blessing sometimes.
Well, it doesn't feel it at the time, but absolutely, I think that is. And this is Stephen Covey talks about this in the 7 Habits, and that balance. Because if you're totally focused on family, and then the family's taken away, what do you have left? If you're totally focused on rugby and the rugby's taken away, what do you have left? And it's that ability to have a wider context to who you are. Now, for me, I was very rugby focused, and suddenly that was taken away. I got injured in America in a tournament, and you've got choices in your life. You can bitch and moan. I got fat for a little while, and bitched and
How
moaned
long did
about
it take
things.
you to bounce back?
It was about 6 months. I think sometimes you have to
The
reach
mourning
a...
period.
Yeah.
Plus, isn't that your entire identity
And that's
in
the-
rugby?
yeah,
They got the men,
That's
the
it.
bonding.
It's that identity piece with the rugby, and I struggle watching a rugby match these days
Yeah, I believe you.
because I don't. I'm not a spectator. I want to be on the field, and I can't be. I can't be. I could be, but I risk certain other things because the last injury was back. So it was okay. I needed to change something. But then you just, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And it's a moment of reflection of okay. Thankfully, I've done a lot of personal development and exploration philosophy, as you describe it, to say, what is it now? Let's go forward. Okay, I'm 70 years old. I'm sitting on my deathbed, or 104, or 94, like that dude you had on
96.
recently. Right,
Jacques
96.
Fresco.
So I'm 96 years of age. I'm sitting here. I got injured when I was 30.
Yeah.
So am I going to sit on the sofa for the rest of my life and be one of those guys down the pub? Oh yeah, when I was young, I used to play football. I was great, but I had a knee injury. When that was me done, Do I want to be one of those guys? And by the way, I had a couple of experiences in a pub when guys were doing that. I just thought, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to be that man down the pub saying what could have been. I need to do something different. So what is it I'm going to do? And I was actually on a Tony Robbins thing in Australia when I was looking at destiny.
When was this? Like 10 years ago?
This was 8 years ago.
8 years, okay.
I'm looking at destiny and legacy, and I said, okay, well, we've got one chance at this life. Maybe we come back. I think we probably will, but cool, I don't know. But whilst we're here, let's make the most of it. So I wanted to explore the greatest things on earth whilst I'm here.
Was that something that gave you the strength to kind of get up afterwards? I mean, was the Tony, because I mean, he is very powerfully inspirational.
Yeah, he actually taught me how to break a board when I was 10 years old in California.
See, now you got access to that early.
Very early. 60
see,
this
this
I mean,
is
I was
the-
10. I mean,
That's the.
Can you still do it?
I don't know.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's try. Let's find a board.
Well, I used to live in Del Mar, which is where I am from in California. Has a place called the Del Mar Castle there. But that was my first experience. And my mother did the firewalk experience with Tony
Oh, she
Robbins.
did?
Like in the 80s or the 70s.
It's a very forward-thinking mum.
Yeah, it's California.
It's California.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But see, you get the access over here, and over in this country, the Brits are a little bit more staid. I was brought up in the west tip of Wales. There was no such thing.
No.
I got into this much later in life.
No exposure to that
So-
way of thinking, you mean? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
Very boxed off, and that part of my passion, my legacy, is trying to get to this thinking in a different way. That's trying to get the Life's Great Adventure is kind of trying to get this accessibility to thinking in a simple way to get people drawn in, but using adventure in a fun, cool way. So it's not got personal development written all over. It's not got self-help or anything, because it kind of can have negative connotations, unfortunately.
I turn off when I see a self-help book these
know.
days. It's just so many. It's hard to figure out exactly what the minutia of someone is saying.
And a lot of it's cut up in different ways. It's the same things being regurgitated. But I think Tony's been around for years. He certainly inspired me at a certain point in my life to really think big. And that's when I created the what I call the Global Grand Slam. So whilst I'm here, I want to experience the best the Earth's got to offer. And for me, that's both poles, the 7 highest mountains in the world, the desert run, and the jungle run, and the Arctic run. So it's basically ultra-endurance, 6 marathons back-to-back across desert, jungle, Arctic.
You just chose this?
Yeah, I made it up, and I threw an Ironman in because a guy when I was on the Marathon des Sables was calling me Tin Man because he was an Ironman and I wasn't. So I thought, right, I'll do an Ironman too, and that was my bucket list. So well down the list now. So and continuing to explore, and things will be added to the list. That's the beauty of life.
It's amazing. It's really amazing because it's not as though you had trained your whole life to do it.
No.
And I think that would you say that the book was really born from that? You were not the person who had trained your whole life to do it, but yet you still took it on and did it. And I think that is it's really facing your fears and doing it anyway. Go Susan Jeffers. But it's true. It's, you have to kind of just find the warrior and then do it. And then when you do it, that is just another inspiration for yourself. You feel the strength of that. So I guess, what was the first journey you took on? I mean, that
And
must
why
have
solo?
been amazing.
Because you went from a team sport to this,
Yeah.
or is climbing solo, or is it a team? It sounds like through each adventure you had on each continent, you're going with different people, aren't you? 'Cause
Yeah.
you're going with local guides. But,
Yeah.
I mean, of all the things you could choose to do, I'm just curious why you chose those things.
Do you know what? I have no idea. I think we're drawn, and I think this is part of the exploration. I talk about strategy is what I do in my day job, but within business, whether it's business or it's venture, whatever, I think we're drawn to something, and it's a passion inherent in us that we need to discover. And it is a discovery, and sometimes you have to do stuff to understand you don't want to do stuff. I had to do the second book, which we're working on at the moment, which is kind of the application of Life's Great Adventure. That's about Ironman. And I had Ironman in the list, so I gave it a go. Now, an Ironman, for those who aren't aware, is a 2.5 mile swim, followed by a 112 mile bike ride, and then a full marathon. Okay? That's a tough gig in any
Approximate times for how long does that take roughly?
Well, what I didn't... By the way, people, if you're going to do this, do your homework first. I hadn't realised, if you don't do it in 17 hours, you're not an Ironman. You're cut off, literally. And I only realised that 2 months before when I was kind of pootling around on my bike, not realising I had to go a lot faster. So,
17 hours.
Wow. And I had a bad day on that one, but I did it in just over 16. And but here's the thing. I decided I wanted to do it. I had no idea why, partly born out of ego. You know, boys kind of down the pub, right, I'm going to do an Ironman. But that was 3 years ago when I started that journey. I couldn't swim, and I hadn't been on a bike since I was a kid. But I could run a little, because the running bit was the strong bit. So, again, it just goes to show, no matter what you want to have a go at, you can have a go at anything. Now, you're going to have to learn a lot, you're going to have to, try a lot, you're going to have to be disciplined and persevere and whatever, but I had to learn how to swim, 101, and
it's amazing.
And I had to get on, my God, bikes aren't like they were when I was a kid. You love it with all these toys you've got here.
Like lightweight and...
Oh, man, just the technical aspect. I love throwing on a pair of trainers and going running in the Forest of Dean where I live. Easy, shorts, T-shirt, okay, you might have to put a pair of gloves on if it's cold, but biking, it's just the technicalities behind it now, and the sophistication behind it and the kit and the rest of it. My bike's for sale. Anyone wants to buy a bike? I've got 2 bikes for sale. Because I don't want to do that anymore.
Are you finished with the Ironman?
I'm finished with the Ironman.
So you did it?
Did it, done, next. I don't want to do it again.
And looking at it now afterwards, was it what you expected? Or was it a grind the whole time? Were you like, what am I doing? Did your ego get you through that?
No, humbleness did, actually. And this is what I love about adventure. My whole... the whole start of the journey was born out of ego, and that's the book. That's part of the book, is the exploration of that. And actually, what I discovered on the way was not what I discovered. I knew I needed to do this, but I didn't know why, and it was the universe kind of giving me lessons in different ways. I think I needed to learn the lessons through adventure, and I think we all learn these lessons through different ways, whether it's through yoga or whatever is right for you. And the Ironman, for instance, that's still, when you actually cross the finishing line, you are an Iron Man.
I didn't realize.
It was
realize that was
awesome. And all my kind of mantra beforehand in the training and everything else, I had like an Iron Man hat and an Iron Man T-shirt, and I was doing the Iron Man on the vision board. The whole lot was Iron Man. I am an Iron Man. What does an Iron Man think today? And I was. So the whole thing was really kind of, because Ironman is the kind of pinnacle in ultra endurance for a lot of people. And on the very morning when I was ready I'm ready for Ironman. On the morning, you kind of go out at 5 o'clock in the morning to jump in the water to start the swim. Still nervous, but still ego. And in a heartbeat, my whole day of what I expected to have a grueling, tough day, grit, knuckle down, get on with it. And there was a ripple from the back. I was standing in my wetsuit. Actually, I had to pee in my wetsuit before I even got in the water, but that's another story.
Is that encouraged?
So that's how to warm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But there was a ripple from the back of the crowd, and the crowd of wetsuited people parted and came through a team called Team True Spirit. And this is a team of, and I didn't know, this was not part of I didn't expect this, I didn't plan this, I didn't even know who they were or they were on the day. So if Team True Spirit's out there, I honour you guys. It's a set of ex-veterans, war veterans, who've lost limbs in the forces or in other ways. And there was guys with one leg, one arm, and the pinnacle, one guy being carried through, had no legs. No legs. Carried through.
They're competing in this event?
Going through to the front to get in the water to start the Ironman. Now that puts it into perspective. People go, oh, Ironman, Deri, oh man, I couldn't do an Ironman. I was like, oh, well, have you got 2 legs? Well, that's a good start.
Yeah, it's inspiration right there.
Now, I didn't know that was going to happen. And on that journey, that day, when I had a bad day. An Ironman's a tough day for a lot of people, and I screwed a lot of the preparation up on it. But on the bike ride, when I was having a tough day, I was going up one of the biggest hills, and the guy with no legs was ahead of me, hand pedaling on his bike, having a tough day going up the highest hill. So I'm having a tough gig getting up the hill on my legs, right? And then you say, oh, I can't do, mind kicks in, oh man, I can't do. Yeah. Oh, he's got no legs. Deri, shut up, put up and get going. And again, and the wheelchair side of things, he was going around in his wheelchair doing the marathon. So
it's amazing.
I did not expect that, but I knew I needed to do an Ironman, and now I know why, because of that humbling experience on an Ironman.
Yeah.
And the moments I was having a tough day, and also the message now, sitting here when I'm on the stage and I speak about this stuff, the message I can get through to people, and we've got it on the Inspired Adventure website and stuff of that story and these people. And it's just, we as human beings can do anything we set our minds to.
Yeah.
You just got to think big enough and give it a go, So Ironman, tough day, but tougher day for the guy who had no legs.
Do you think it's healthy to do things out of ego? I mean, Sonia and me and this whole show is kind of about trying to check your ego and control your ego. But do you think it's an important part of pushing yourself, of being successful?
Yeah, I don't think ego ever goes away. And actually, ego can drive us, and ego can fuel us. It's a part of us. It's just not letting it be everything, I think, and checking it. It's being able to check it, I think, more than anything.
Sonia, how do you deal with your ego?
I think awareness of it. If you're not aware of your ego, it then lives you. You're not aware of it, so it's your thoughts are in action. You're thinking. You don't even know what you're thinking half the time. You're just unaware. And I think that the root of everything for me is just awareness. Have an awareness. And then when you have that level of awareness in your life, and you know what, these are the thoughts that I'm thinking right now, are they serving me? I've reacted in this way towards, this situation. Where is that coming from? And if I can be looking at the ego and at the way I'm kind of delivering my life and how I'm perceiving life around me, then for the most part, you can have a really happy kind of existence. It's when you don't have that awareness. It's when you are unaware, the thoughts are running you, and you don't have a realization that whatever you're seeing in your life is really what's going on inside you. And so, your ego is then blaming life, blaming situation, blaming things around you for whatever's going on. And it can wreak havoc. And I think that's when you don't have awareness in your life, and you don't have awareness in yourself, and you're not really embodying who you are. That's the biggest problem.
And you do a lot of meditation and yoga, so
I do a lot of yoga. I love yoga. I love the healing of the body, because I think it heals the mind, and the two are a marriage. I mean, I definitely with Deri's book and this whole, I think it's a very beautiful thing to serve and inspire others, because it's such a great need out there to inspire people. And to me, inspiring somebody is almost alleviating their fear. And you seeing, somebody with no legs can take away your fear of keep on going. You've got 2, he's got none, he's still doing it, and we get inspired by each other, and it's a service. So he didn't know he was inspiring you, and probably all the other people that were looking at him, but that's what we do. We inspire each other. And I think, if you have that if you have that awareness that we are to serve each other, and that your awakening and your awareness is not just a personal trip, it is a service to all the energies around you. You know, if you can just be awake yourself, be aware, and try every single day to nurture that quality, because it's not easy. You know?
Deri, you seem like you put these huge adventures, tests in front of yourself, knowing that there's a chance you're going to fail. And I mean, I think you climbed, I don't know, was it McKinley, one of the mountains where it just crushed you. And I mean, that in itself must be a way to be aware of your own ego and humble yourself in a way. You know, it seems like in a weird way, if someone was analyzing you, this is your therapeutic loop that you put yourself through.
Yeah, I'm being analysed, aren't I? Oh my goodness! Don't tell me about the analysing.
I have a new career, man.
No, you're right. And when I was going on these journeys, I didn't realise the therapeutic aspect of it.
It was just a feather in your cap.
It started from ego, ended in humbleness. Right. And as part of this journey, the reason I wrote that book because of McKinley, because as you know within that chapter, I nearly died on that mountain.
Right.
And I realised that everything I'd learnt in life, all my lessons, what I stood for, what I believed in, and what Daddy'd done, my children would not know. And I wrote that for my children. It was never intended to be published. And as you know, there's some personal stuff in there, which I was telling my publisher, really? That's for my kids. It's not meant for public. And my publisher, no, that's the bits we want. You know, that's the real bits.
Can you tell us what happened on McKinley? Or people that are listening that haven't read your book yet?
Well, two things happened. I find my adventures have been a direct reflection of what's been going on the rest of my life at that time, which is an interesting life concept. And I think we reflect in all areas of our life, particularly our passions, we reflect with what's going on in our life at the time. So certainly when I was going through the businesses were building, everything was going great, all the adventures went great, you know, nailed the Marathon des Sables and Kilimanjaro and climbing the mountains. When I climbed McKinley, it was around about the time, I don't know if you remember it, when the banks were collapsing.
08.
Yeah.
And this mountain's in Alaska.
This is Alaska. Right? It's in the depths of Alaska. It's on the Arctic Circle. It's one of the nastiest mountains in the world. I ironically chose it at that time. So I was heavily involved in property and business, the rest of it, and everything was collapsing in a big way. And you know, I was going down. There was having legal battles and all sorts at that time. At the same time, now planned McKinley like a year before.
Okay, so it was coming.
So I was like, and everyone's like, you can't go. You got. I'm like, I'm going. I'm done. It's booked. I've got the kit. I've been training. I'm done. So I went, and on that mountain, it was the first time I ever failed. Simultaneously, back at home, I was failing in business. Things were collapsing. The financial system was collapsing. My financials were collapsing around, and it was that going on that mountain, and then on summit day, we got shut down in Denali Pass, which is on that mountain. You can imagine the winds come across Russia and hit Alaska, and there's a Venturi effect happens on the top of Mount McKinley, which is one of the highest mountains. It is the highest mountain in North America. And in this pass, the legend goes that people have literally been flash frozen in that pass because it is so inhospitable. And we literally got shut down in that pass. And it's the close. I got blinded and fell on a slope and had to ice axe a rest. And it's the closest I've been to that. You know, when I'm going to die. It was as close as it gets. And having experienced that, don't want to spoil some parts of the book for people, but having experienced that and knowing I was having legal battles at 17,500 feet on a sat phone with the lawyers back home, and I just thought, do you know what, I'm done. And it was one of those moments I nearly died up there, and to be frank, I'm died back home. Because again, it comes back to who are you? What do you define yourself on? I'm a businessman. I define myself as business. What's your biggest fear as a businessman? Going bankrupt. And I was looking it in the eye, and I did actually go. But actually, when I went down with a smile on my face because I knew it didn't matter anymore. And now that all happened on Denali in that mountain, and I nearly stepped off that mountain. There was literally one moment where I was going to end it all, and it was around money, it was around wealth, it was because of the ego, and all the rest of it. And the only thing that stopped me taking that step, because I was insured up to the hilt, so everything would be protected, my wife, the family, everyone would be fine. The money would be sorted. I died in Alaska, done.
Wow.
Big moment.
Wow, yeah.
And the only thing that made me step back was my child, because she wouldn't have a daddy. And I hadn't written that book. So, and that was that moment. So you talk about what is adventure and is it being therapeutic? Yeah. Because I was able to stand on that mountain and realize when you've stripped of everything, And this is the thing, being in the deserts and in the mountains and everything. By the way, guys at home, you don't have to do this. I encourage you to do it through yoga or something else instead, right?
It's like also you were up there by your own design. It's weird. It's not like somebody pulled a gun on you and you're in an alley and you see the light flash. I mean, you're up there because you chose to.
Absolutely.
Which must make it feel even worse.
It's rawer. It's you're stripped of everything, and it's the closest you are to, and it is survival. You know, one wrong step on that mountain, it's all over. You're minus 50 degrees. It's real. It's brutal. So when you come down from that and you've faced death and you've looked death in the eye, and I had to walk back into bankruptcy. I literally walked back, came into the country, done, closed things down, and went bankrupt. Yeah. I went into bankruptcy with a smile on my face. I had a good fun with the receivers because it was like, do you know what?
I don't care.
Don't care.
Because you've already faced the worst thing.
I faced the worst thing I could possibly face. And I had to face my fears in adventure and my fears in business. And now this is how I now help, other business owners and everything else, because I've been there, guys.
Right.
I don't care how dark it gets.
Yeah.
I've been to that dark place. And a lot of us have. And I'm blessed to be with you guys, the people I see on the professional speaking circuit and my friends, all these people who are out there inspiring. Guess what? We've all had bad days. And we've all had dark moments.
Yeah.
And that's what defines us. And I just had to I'm stupid enough that I had to go on these crazy adventures to kind of find it.
More than defines us, it's our teacher. It's what really grows us. You don't become a hero for climbing a hill or fighting a small war. You learn in these times, but it's how you actually, it's how you manage them. I mean, you could have stepped off the mountain, or you could have faced your fear and said, God, this is, which is what you did. This is a really tough place to be. Everything that I've, cultivated in my life around my ego, who I am, business and everything, it's facing me right now and saying, you are not that. You have to step out of that. And I think that it's an incredible journey for awakening, is to have everything. I think it's great, is to fight for everything, have all these great perceptions about yourself, and then lose it all, and then have nothing. And for a while you do feel like you're standing in a desert and there's nothing to you, and it's just vacancy, and it's a scary place. You don't know who am I, what am I. Everything that you think you are is suddenly gone. And then you actually have those moments, you have days where you think, I actually don't know who I am. I don't really want to be here anymore. And then you come through it and you're like, God, isn't that amazing? Isn't life so amazing? And it's going through the tunnel. And if you've never been through the tunnel, you could never write your book to help other people through the tunnel, because you become like the tour guide, don't you? If you drop somebody at the edge of the forest, you give them no lamp and no map and no nothing and say, run along. They're gonna get, they're gonna be scared. They're gonna be petrified. They're still on the rock. They probably won't even go into the forest. But if you actually say, I've been here. This is the road map, and it does get better, and it's beautiful. And God, when the sun comes out, it's like electric. And you can actually inspire people, and people need inspiration.
I just find I have a hard time hanging out with anyone who hasn't hit rock bottom in some way. Because it builds so much character. And I just find that people, I don't know, maybe it's unfair if I say they've had an easy life, or maybe they didn't take some chances, that I have a hard time really relating to them.
Because if you haven't really faced failure, you're not trying hard enough. You're not living it to the max. You're not pushing yourself. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go stupid and climb mountains and nearly fall off them. But it's that, are you really living? This is, that's the whole thing. Life's great adventure. Are you really living your life's great adventure now? And if, I know if I go outside these flats today and I get knocked over by a bus, which I could on that roundabout, it's dangerous. The question I ask, and this is a question I ask of the people I talk to, is, are you happy with the legacy you've left? If you go out and if you walk under a bus today, are you happy with the legacy you've left? And if your answer is yes, great, you're living your life's great adventure. If you're not, and you want to do something more, do it now before it's too late. And that's why I wrote the book. This is why I do what I do on the adventure stuff. But when you rip it all back, I know a lot of people say this, and I think this is why I needed the lesson in a lot harder way, and I needed to be slapped a lot harder in the deserts and in the mountains, because some of the greatest spiritual teachers who come from spiritual context say, in the essence of everything is love. I was like, yeah, whatever, bull. I'm Welsh. It's about ego. And it was only when in the desert, when I was on my knees, all I thought about was my wife and my child. When I was at the very end of my tether in Denali, the only thing I thought about was my child. And you've got a beautiful baby arriving there right now. I've got one same day,
Amazing.
next day. Number 3, and it's the essence of everything is love. So, you know, I create my whole life around that. Adventures are very important to me, but I work 3 days a week because I love what I do. But the rest of the time I'm with a family, I'm with my children, because my regret was Daddy's worked, I've done big businesses, I advised loads of businesses, but didn't see my kids grow up. Right. That's not good enough for me, because the essence of it was my children and my wife and the love I have back home and my family, while simultaneously living my passion and doing what I love to do, because I love business, I love strategy, I love adventure. But it's that understanding the very essence.
Why is it as males that we just run away from that? Like, I conditioned myself away from that for the first 35 years of my life because that was weak. And like,
I want to climb mountains, man. Don't talk to me about love.
Why do we do that, Sonia?
Why do you do that, Brian?
Help, Sonia. Help
I'm
us.
interested.
Me, it's we.
I mean, why do men do that? Why? Do you think it's conditioning? Do you think that, you know, a lot of men have been brought up, I was talking about this the other day, if you look back to even sort of men in the 40s and women, and they were really women, and their nail polish matched their lip colour, and it was so women, and that's what they did, you know, and if they didn't have stockings, they would draw lines up the back of their legs, and the men got up, dutifully got dressed, put their suits on, and off they went. And if they commented on like, that's a beautiful flower arrangement, back then you'd be like, excuse me, it would be potentially gay, you know. And I think to myself, men have been robbed of that quality to be soft, because you're allowed to be, you know, there is a Shiva and a beautiful quality. It's like the, you know, roots of a tree and the trunk, and it's strong. But there needs to be a softness with everything. Invite the feminine into it. I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, but you have to, you know, invite that, because it makes the person complete. It's the yin and the yang. Women, beautiful, soft, you know, everything feminine. But invite a bit of, you know, a bit of the strength of the masculine. It's the two. They go together, and they should go together, and it's the balance in life. And I think that a lot of men feel that they are not allowed to be that, or they can't express or experience that. And it's not, you know, I think it's time to take that back.
What do you say to that, Deri? I really want to know what you think.
I'd like to say that's a beautiful flower arrangement you have over there. You really, and well, you can't see it, but it really is. It really is. I think you're right. And I was brought up in West Wales. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent in the States for West Wales, if you had to?
Oh man, deep south.
Deep
probably.
south.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, where are we taught this stuff? Well, you look around the role models. So the role models, you know, my generation above me, now the men in their 60s and 70s, right? That was the role models, which you just described pretty accurately. And in West Wales, there's a lot worse than that. I can trust me on that one.
Yeah.
So you know, we look around us as what's the man? What's the man supposed to do? The man goes out and earns the bread and brings it home on the table, and you know, shoots the cow and
brings the bull
does
home.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was my wife, my mother. God bless her, she was a housewife, and that's what she did. And there was a very clear masculine energy. And use the term energy rather than male and female, because I believe we've all got different energies, and some females are a lot more masculine in their natural core, and some males are a lot more feminine, and that's where we get, you know, the gay connection between, you know, you get two women, well, they work because their energies work.
Yeah.
One's more masculine, one's more feminine. It's about polarity.
Yeah.
So for us, it's and this is Tony Robbins, the way the superior man, the book talks about what really is a man.
I've read that.
I've
before.
not read
That's not
that.
Tony Robbins. That's someone else.
No, but
right?
he was on Tony. He was actually one of the
Okay.
speakers, I think, of the platinum side of Tony. But so it's redefining what a man is. Now, I think I can stand up, because I think men can relate to me a little bit, because I've done the adventures and I've climbed the mountains.
He's an Ironman.
And and look, I wear a suit, so I'm a man, all right? So I can stand here and be a man. But simultaneously, because I've kind of ticked the boys' boxes, that book was written for men, and ironically, we've got a much bigger female audience. I didn't plan that, because it was meant for, how can I get the messages I've learnt in life, which is the softer messages, the love messages and the rest of it, into men in a way that they'll understand it, which is, let's talk about adventure, and let's weave in the philosophy. So, you know, what is a true man for me? For my wife, I'm there to be the superior man. I need to let her energy wash off me. I have to be strong, and that's not about, and that is being the softer side and being able to listen and all those skills that we are not taught, we do not understand. But to be a true man these days for our women, it's a whole different gig. And also my wife's a professional as well. So those old days of what we were brought up with, a model in the world of the woman stays at home and the man goes out, that's gone. So, but that's the only role models a lot of us were brought up with, and broken families and all the rest of it. So the new man, the new real masculine man, needs to be able to allow that feminine to grow. And also, we've got to be able to extract the feminine energy out of the women we're with. My wife's a doctor. She had incredible masculine energy when we were first together because corporate world, doctor world.
I've seen that.
And now I needed to enable her to be feminine. So I have to be, a real man and be there and listen and all those skills. And I'm a crap listener. So it's all those skills, those softer skills, which where do we get taught this stuff? Now, I've gone out of my way to understand this. I understood the love bit through the adventure bit, but it's a tough gig. What about you? You're the real man. I want to hear what you're like.
It's funny. I was thinking about my second ayahuasca experience. We were talking about it earlier, and I cried for like 45 minutes straight. It was the tears were streaming down my eyes and dripping off my ears. Yeah, while I was laying down on a sofa in the studio. And that's another story. But it was just all these tears that had been pent up because I hadn't actually properly cried in God knows how long, 10 years. So it felt so good, and I was like, Jesus, I got to do this more often, And it just felt good to just let it all
releasing
out,
so much.
But Deri's right. We are grown up. We're brought up in this male archetype, and the men do it to each other. I mean,
well, they do
in sports or in the city. I mean, we just we do it without knowing it, but we just haze and test the hell out of each other until we deem you okay to come into the male circle. So it's something that we propagate ourselves, don't we? But, with the more information out there and the more talking and the more ayahuasca, we do get it. And I think we're changing a little bit, right? I mean, I think in the 70s and 80s, you saw men go too far. They're like, oh, we're crying now. And it's like, now we've come back.
Yes. There's finding the balance.
The women are changing as well. So you're equally to blame.
The women are changing, more independent, having children later in life, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. But, I do too. I mean, look, I think that ultimately it is trying to find the authenticity in yourself, no matter woman, men. It's just moving actually to the space that we are very much moving towards, and people kind of wanting to be more authentic, wanting to find truth, and when I say that, what I really mean is a kind of stepping away from allowing this mass indoctrinating machine to dictate to you, and knowing that you don't have to be the puppet of the media. It's incredibly strong the way we are conditioned. We're conditioned by our surroundings, by our society, by our friends. And if you can just move away from that slipstream of consciousness and say, who am I? What am I? And do I need to read Vogue to tell me that I need to be X, Y, and Z? Do I need to read this, Man magazine to tell me if I don't have a ripped six-pack, I'm nothing? And how much, protein drink? And when you just step away from that and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to be the puppet of all of this information. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to find who me is. If it's on the top of the mountain, if it's in a meditational, situation in East London, wherever it is, and it can happen anywhere, it's getting to that place where you actually, first of all, the first step is there has to be something more. I want something more. I need something more. This can't be it. And then waking up, it's like and waking up happens in little stages. It's like that first little moment where you kind of click, oh, right, I'm not my suitcase. I'm not all the stuff I'm lugging behind me. I can drop all that stuff and I can really step into me. And then that comes back to when you do that, you'll find this person will soften, this person will toughen up a bit because they will suddenly feel allowed to be themselves. They'll step into themselves. And I think when we really are in ourselves, we are balanced. We are spiritually balanced with who we are. You know, we'll always be different. Everybody will have a different flavor and a different signature, and it's amazing. But we won't be the kind of molding of the society we might have grown up in. We will be more authentic to the truth of ourselves.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, part of what we're trying to do with London Real here is provide people alternate conversations that they wouldn't normally have by watching the news and kind of things. And we've had people in like, you know, Tennessee in the U.S. that's like, I don't have any friends that have these conversations. So they tune in just to hear about us asking questions of why do we do this? Why do we do that? So it's nice to be able to, you know, to talk about these things.
Yeah.
But what do you tell people, Deri, when they're like, what do I do to get out there? I can't climb a mountain. I can't run a marathon in the desert. You know, do you have any starter advice that you give to people? Because sometimes it can be such a leap. Go after your adventure, and then they're like, it's too big, you know.
So first of all, I'd say that's horseshit, and you can do anything you want.
Okay.
And that's not in a, you know. So don't tell me you can't run across the desert. The guy who inspired me had one leg. So, you know, and the guy who did the Ironman had no legs. So this can't thing is the bit that everyone's got to get over. Now, doing it for the right reasons is a different matter. So I had I was speaking recently on a stage in London, and a lady came up to me afterwards, quite a well-known lady actually, and she said, "Oh, you know, you inspired me with the desert thing." She was a little bit overweight. She'd been on the telly, and she'd put a little bit of weight on, and she said, "You've inspired me, you know. Now I realise, you know, because you ran across the desert in the car with one leg." And this was before I'd done the Ironman, so I didn't even know. She didn't even know the no leg story. And she said, "I'm going to go down." She said, she looked at me. She went, "No, I know. I'm going to go down the gym and I'm going to run a marathon." And she said it like that, and I went, "Why would you do that? That looks painful." Because she didn't want to. She was kind of following my adventure, and that's not the point of my message. My message is find your adventure. Don't try to be somebody else, which you were saying. It's about being authentic.
So lovely that you're saying that. Yeah,
that book is not
exactly.
about, come on guys, let's climb the highest mountains in the world and run across the desert. No. That book is find your adventure, be true to that, and step into it. Now, if that is, I can't run the marathon, don't be ridiculous. If you've got two legs, you can run a marathon, you know. The oldest guy to run a marathon is 102, Buster Keats, I think his name is. So age isn't an issue. Guy that's on the speaks with me, Alex, have you come across Alex, what's his name, Alex Parsonage, I think his name is. He's got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he's running around the world. So what I'm trying to do with the book and with Inspired Adventure, which we're putting up inspirational stories online, you know, there's just trying to get around adventure and adventure themes to say, if you think you can't do a London Marathon, come and have a look at this guy. Now, if you haven't got Parkinson's disease and you've got two legs, crack on. And it's not about running the marathon. Go out and run a mile first. In that book, when I decided the first adventure that I was going to do, wasn't the wisest choice in hindsight, was the desert. So I went from zero to hero literally in a year. And the first time I went out for a run, I ran 2 miles, I got asthma. I had to walk home with a tail between my legs. Now, a year later, I was running 6 marathons across the Sahara Desert. Now, in hindsight, that was stupid. I should have built that up a little bit slower, and I nearly killed myself in the process. But the point is, you can achieve anything. I encourage people to do it slower, but the question is, what's the next step? Whatever you want to be. You want to do jiu-jitsu. How do you start?
Find your highest mountain.
One class.
One class. You start by going online and finding out what jiu-jitsu is. Where is there somebody new you can do it? If it's not jiu-jitsu, it's like, you know, whatever. You've got to do that exploration bit, then decide that you committed. Because a lot of people I want to do this, but they don't really mean it.
Yeah, your book is not really a handbook on how to, you know, do the Ironman or climb a mountain. It's about that was your highest mountain. That was your challenge. That was your passion, and you sort of faced, you know, everything. Not having the tools, you found the tools, and you educated yourself, and you left the fear. And everybody has something that it's your true purpose. And you know how many people live their whole lives, and then when they're checking out, and they kind of go, I wish I wasn't so scared. I wish I'd just done it. Do
you know that quote? It's an old one, but it said, "Playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do."
Yeah.
I see that all the time.
But see, you look at me and go, you go across the desert, like, you're nuts. You do jiu-jitsu and kick people around in a room. That's mental, you know? So you got drawn into that, and you've taken down that path, and you're meeting amazing people. And the exploration, I'm guessing, of doing that, by following what you felt was your path, is taking you down a whole different road.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even like you said, the ego can start you for doing something, and then your pathway will take you in a completely different direction.
I think we climb mountains every day. They're little journeys that we have to go through every day. You know, that even those, you know, moments in life or situations where you can just wake up and be fearless and go, you know what, I can do this. Why am I stressing so much? Why am I worrying so much? And that is a huge thing. It's not always this long goal or where are you going to be or what's going to... It's in the moments every single day, the present moment. Can I live in this moment? Can I really enjoy this moment in my life? Can I not always be living in some future or waiting for some future moment to arrive, but can I really be present? I mean, that takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of kind of, you know, inner wisdom, and you find who you are, and you find what you are and what you want to do with your life. And we all have a purpose. We all have, you know, this. You might be sitting in an office. You might be locked inside in fear. You know, you don't want to leave your job because of survival, security, and all that good stuff. But at the same time, you're watching your life slip away from you, and you're dreaming of the time when you can at some point in the future be doing what you really want to do, and then maybe you can be happy. And actually, you know, it's the courage to take the steps today. Not, you know, you don't have to plan. I mean, it's a lot of planning to go and climb a mountain, not a practice. But every day we have the opportunity to make choices that could, you know, really change our lives and make us passionate about even who we are. Because when you take those little steps all the time, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be fearless, I'm going to quit my job, or I'm going to really move into something that I want to do with my life, they strengthen us because they show us again, that's the warrior in me. I was scared, I did it, and then, you know, you start to live, and that's how you live. And you when you're checking out, you're looking back over the book you wrote of your life, you know, you're the author of your life, and you think, you know, I may not have won those medals, I may not have, you know, did these great things, but I did what I wanted to do. I did what I wanted to do. And if I wanted to go and plow a field and be a farmer and live, I did it. And you're just proud of the fact that you didn't cower away. You didn't, you know, because of fear and duty and survival, you didn't cower away in your life. You were proud. So when you check out, you can go, yeah, I'm proud of that book I wrote.
Wow. Some wise words there.
We need some ayahuasca, that's what we need.
Deri, what's next for you? You know, what's next for you in the next couple of years? I know you have this list of a few more adventures you want to do. Are those the ones you set for yourself years ago? Are they still as important to finish?
That's a very, very profound question at the moment for me.
It is,
The next is, I'm planning for, I've actually got an ankle injury at the moment. I've been out for 2 months, which is really winding me up. But I think that's the universe teaching me a lesson to slow down and calm down. That's a whole different story. But
that can be the most frustrating thing.
Yeah, I'm actually just starting to do Pilates in the last 2 months. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. All those guys out there who think Pilates is for girls, man, it's not. It's really hard. So that's getting my core ready for the endurance stuff again. But I'm going to be doing the Jungle Marathon next October. So that's what I'm gearing up for at the moment. So that's 6 marathons back to back across the South American rainforest.
Okay.
In Brazil, carrying everything you need to survive for the week.
Back to back means what? Every day?
Every day. You
days?
do a marathon, you have to then, you're self-sufficient, you carry all your food, you carry everything you need to survive. You get to wherever you got to go to, you put up your hammock and you kind of sleep under the jungle. You get up next day, run another marathon, crack on.
How much kit is that? How heavy is that?
When I did the marathon to Saab, it was about 15 kilo on my back. But I like bringing a few treats with me. So the ultras are kind of bringing about 9 kilo packs. I like my food too much. So, but yeah, it'll be about 15k on the back and running then next. So you can. Anybody want to join me? Come and join me for that one next year. That's the plan.
Is this Brazil?
This is in Brazil. But the big next one for me is Everest. I've just come back from Nepal. I was in Nepal about 5 weeks ago, just doing the planning for it because I'm ready for it now. You know, built up to do Everest. So we're planning Everest 2014. However, I don't know if I'm going to do it at the moment.
Can you explain why?
Because it comes back to what's the core of everything at the moment. My life's all about my children. Little baby's coming at the moment for me. Now, I was planning Everest. I should be doing Everest next year, but then my wife decided that we were going to have a third. Clearly, it's her choice, not mine.
Absolutely.
So that kind
One man show there.
Oh, has that gone off?
No, you're on. You're
Okay.
good.
So with my wife deciding that, by the way, guys, if this ever happens to you, just be aware when your wife announces that she wants the third child, and you say, "What about Everest?" It's not the right answer at that moment. Okay.
I'm going to use that one. What about Everest?
So because it was all planned,
What
so I
about
had to sort of can all the plans for Everest for my baby. But now the third one's nearly on us. Literally, in a couple of weeks, we'll have our third baby girl. And Everest is 7 weeks away. And I'm struggling. Now, I can go away for a week or two. It's actually nice to have a break for a week or two every now and again. But to leave my children, especially a young baby and my wife, for 7 weeks, I just don't think I could do it at the moment.
And your wife doesn't mind? She understands
she's pretty cool
your program to do
now.
this stuff? Okay.
She wasn't cool at the beginning of the adventures, but I think she understands now, and she understands that it's way bigger than me, and it's part of my legacy of what I'm doing with adventure. So she supports me, but I just don't think... when I did the Alaska, my eldest, she was 2, and I left and I was away for a month climbing that mountain. When I came back, and I came into the airport, and there was my wife and my 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I was, she's going to come run into Daddy. No, she didn't know who Daddy was.
Wow.
That really hurt.
Yeah.
Especially, I just nearly topped myself on a mountain, nearly got killed, and I come home and my kid doesn't even know who I am. That's a bad day at the office,
Show her your book.
I didn't even have the book. That's why I wrote it. I thought, Jesus, I better write this book, or all the kids don't know who I am. And I'm wrestling with that at the moment, so there is no answer. I will do Everest, there's no question. It's part of my destiny, Everest.
But when?
But it's when.
Yeah.
And so next year's the Jungle Marathon, and I'm just stepping into that. If not the following year, then I'm probably going to do the Alaska one, the 6633, which is the 300-mile run across the Arctic. And I'm already talking to that. I wanted to do that this March, but that was the one time my wife did put the kibosh on me and say no. If she's listening, darling, I love you, and I'm not doing the Arctic in March.
How's the risk factor? I mean, look, I know that you tell off when you're climbing Everest and stuff, but is it it's risky, isn't it? I mean, if you...
That's very well put, because when I'm on the stage, I get challenged a lot harder than that. And I've had mothers in the audience say, "How can you do that? You're taking a risk.
Yeah.
What about your children and your wife?" Good question, actually. But for me, it's been an interesting one for me. It's the very core of who I am. Not from an egotistical point of view anymore. This is my legacy. This is my destiny. I didn't start off with these adventures thinking, do you know what? I'm going to write a book about this, and I'm going to try to inspire thousands of people around the world to step in and live their own adventure. That was not the plan. But I knew I needed to do it for something bigger than me, which is now manifesting itself. So I am drawn to adventure. And until the day I'm stopped being drawn to adventure, I will continue to do it. Now, what is the risk factors? Well, there's risks and everything. I mitigate risk. I'm a business strategist, so I'm all about mitigating risk. I always go with the best guides. I get the best kit. I understand the best seasons. There's a lot of research. You just minimize the risk. You never remove the risk.
And life is a risk, really.
There's a risk. You walk outside, you get on a plane, you just look at the statistical factors of getting on a plane, getting on a bus, you'd just be paralyzed if you're worried about risk all the time. Now, admittedly, I am pushing the boundaries a little bit more than most. Yeah. But here's the thing for me, is I don't believe our children listen to what we say. I think our children look at what we do. And all I know is that I want to be an example to my children that Daddy found out. Daddy was a bit of a dick in his early years, but he kind of found himself, tried to understand what his passion was, and Daddy lived what he loved to do. Daddy followed his dreams. Daddy did some of the hardest things on this planet, and in a humble way. And they've got my message in that book, and the second book will finish that message off in a much deeper way. But my children look to me, and now I'm speaking in the primary schools now. I was in the nursery. I'm going into my children's school, my eldest school soon, talking about adventure. What does my child say? Daddy climbs mountains. Daddy's an Ironman. So what does that say? And I keep saying to my children, you can do anything. You've just got to find out. My job as a father is to help my children understand what their authentic thing is.
Yes.
And how can I do that? By living my authentic life.
Yes, and you're very blessed to have your partner, because she is not in any way trying to stifle the person you are.
Oh
I mean,
boy, she used to try.
No,
Because I was like,
Seriously.
women should take heed of this because
I'm sure there is, but you have to if you love somebody, you have to let them be who they are,
Yeah.
and love them for who they are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're very lucky that she is so open. A lot of people might not want you to go away for a whole month, and that is obviously their fear. It's like, oh, I don't want you to go away, I don't want to be alone or whatever. But life is, the bird cage has to be open for everybody in relationships to, obviously be the support, but also be the kind of person who, lets the other person grow, and that's how relationships do stay together.
yeah, I mean, I would say women need to definitely take heed of this because you have to let your man do these things because otherwise he'll ultimately.
Yeah, and vice
Well,
versa.
this goes both
Vice
ways,
versa,
actually. And I think, so I'm not going to stand here, and I'm sure my wife will listen to this at some point, and darling, I do love you very, very much. But, and she will be the first one to say this. The first, we've been together 13 years now, the first 6 years of that relationship were tough.
Yeah.
We nearly divorced because of my adventures. This was not easy. Denali nearly broke us because I went away at the time when everything was crumbling, and I was like, screw it, I'm going. Right, so I was selfish at certain points in my life. Now I do adventure in a different way now. It's beyond me. I do it for different reasons. I make sure she has all the support. So as a man, we have responsibilities to make sure we honour our responsibilities to our wives as well. But it was not easy. But recently, I said I've been challenged a number of times. Recently, a lady challenged me on this about irresponsible, and she said to me, she was really ironically she was a life coach, but that's a whole different story. But she stood there and she was really quite angry and said, my husband wants to he wants to run across deserts and stuff. It's just stupid. And she was really quiet because he's irresponsible because we have the children and all the rest of it. Now, we had quite a debate for a while. At the end of it, I said, so your message you're sending to your children is, if you really want to do something you really love to do, don't do it for duty, and you need to actually do something else. And you're actually stifling your husband to not actually live his dream. So you're telling your husband, I want to live my dream, but you're not allowed to live yours. Humblingly, I got an email. She bought my book. She gave the gift to him. He read it, and she said, I'm really sorry, I've been wrong all these years. We just need to, I want you to, and now he's just about to do his first desert
That's
run.
such that's beautiful.
And I go, wow.
Yeah.
Now, what's that done for that relationship? We're talking about adventure and stuff, but you've got to, I think a woman needs to understand that we've got to, as long as it's coming from the right place, because also we can be selfish tools at the best of times, right? So I think from a man's point of view, we have to come from the right place. I was a lot more selfish and came out from ego in the early parts of our relationship, and I think that's where my wife reacted to it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not. I'm doing it for the right reasons, making sure that the support, that she understands, that she's got the right support in place. I'm not doing it from an ego point of view or a selfish point of view. So we've got a job to play as a man there, but also the woman has to support, and vice versa. God, I've got to support my wife in everything she wants to do.
And it really is important to let the other person grow. I don't think the relationship would actually, I think that's how relationships end. People have to give each other the space and not, you've been together for 13 years. And if you think about that, you meet somebody at one place, people evolve. They're not the same people they woke up in the morning as. So if we always sort of box in our partners and just imagine, oh, I remember you, I know who you are. Well, no, you don't. We've been together for 13 years. I'm a totally different person. People grow, and you have to let them grow. Otherwise, you're not going to grow together. They're going to meet somebody else who accepts the new them, and off they'll go. This is a whole new topic, but it's
That's why we have you here.
Back for another hour. Relationships, Mark II.
Yeah, but it's just it's really so important. I mean, I've had this experience. When we came back from Brazil, it was so amazing. We had 2 weeks of ayahuasca, and it was really beautiful. And I went with my partner, and he did not want to go. And I said to him, well, I'm going to go on my own. And he said, oh, okay, I'm coming. And off we went. And he had the most amazing experience. And now down the line, and when we were there, we booked for January. And obviously we had an ayahuasca baby. We were in preggers then. And we booked for January, and with Dennis McKenna and Graham Hancock, who's just so legendary, all going to be there at this 2-week seminar and just, really bonding and doing the ayahuasca. And it was my dream. Anyway, so we obviously come back, find out I'm preggers, and down the line we get an email going, so you guys still on for January? And I'm like, No, I'm not on for January. I can't come with baby. And he was like, okay, darling, well, I won't come either. And I went, oh, no, you are going. And he was so shocked, but I knew how much he wanted to go, and I knew how much I would love to go. And he said, no, it'll be 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't care, 2 weeks or what? It's like once in a lifetime you have these opportunities to go and grow your spirit. And it's something that I would want to do. I'm not going to rob you of your growing, and it's fine, and everything will be fine. And it was something that, and then obviously your family go, you can't do that, you can't do that, and you're like, listen, just whatever. And it's our duty to love somebody to the space of allowing them to go on their growing journeys. And I think it's when you do that, you get the same back, because there'll be a time in my life where I'll want to go on something that'll be nurturing and growing for me, and I'll really need to do that. And the support just goes both ways.
So you drank ayahuasca, what was March or April of this year?
Yeah.
And you were planning to go back together in January?
Together in January.
Okay, and then this happened.
And then this happened.
But he's going to go on his own?
He's going to go on his own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ayahuasca Baby, cool.
Yeah.
It's a lot of them happen.
Cool.
That's trippy. I actually do.
I better keep away from that stuff. I've already got 3. That's enough for me.
Yeah, if you
I
want
want to
one.
ask you about that, Sonia. But we got a few minutes left. I just want to know, Deri, how can people reach you? Obviously, they can find your book on Amazon, Life's Great Adventure. Otherwise, how can they reach you? Are you on Twitter, website?
Yeah. So we've created. We're just in the embryonic stages of this, because from the book. So the book, you can get it on Amazon. If you go to www.inspired-adventure.com, you can buy from there, and more money goes to charity. As probably I'm going to mention this, but the book's my gift. So I've given the book away to charity. So all 100% of my author royalties go to Global Angels, which is a charity I'm on the board of, which I'm very passionate about. So this was a legacy. This was born from a legacy. It was for my children. It's been given back. Now, I've started to speak around this as well, and all of that's gifted back to the charity as well. So this is a pure philanthropic mission for me to inspire. On the website, you can buy the book, and that means more profits go to the charity. But on there, we've created a video wall. So when I speak, I try to get it captured and filmed so everyone can access it. This shouldn't be. This is why I love what you guys are doing. This is London Real is so awesome, because in London we have this, and if you've got some money and you're in London, you can access inspiration. You can access, because there's loads of stuff going on. If you're sitting in West Wales or in the depths of the South in America or in South Africa, there's not big motivational speakers coming in to inspire you. So what you're doing with London Real, we're trying to do from an adventure context, an inspired adventure. So you've got me up there, you've got Mr. Frostbite, a guy who lost all his hands and his feet in Alaska, exactly the place on Denali that I did. So he's come up and speaking. You got the guy who's got, he's running across the world. He's got Parkinson's disease. You got the guys who are inspired adventure, then the guys with no legs. We've got videos, lots of inspirational clips. We're at the very early stages, but we're just trying to get inspiration out there. So if you want to be a little bit more inspired, want a little bit more of a story, go to inspiredadventure.com, and there's a community on there, and you can contact with me because there's a whole networking community thing there. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. I don't understand how to use that properly yet. I'm working on it.
I'll fill you in on it later.
So, but yeah, Inspired Adventure is the best place to grab me.
Okay, so it's inspired-adventure.com. All those notes will be on the YouTube and on our iTunes notes as well. Awesome.
Great.
It's been great having you here. I just want to grill Sonia because this is a rare opportunity. I have you 9 months pregnant. So, it
Could happen at any moment.
I know.
I know. So is this an ayahuasca baby, and can you expound on that?
It definitely is. I really, there was a part of me that thought, I know that there are children in my lifeline and in my picture, but I just didn't know when. I didn't know when, I didn't know how. And if I was given the choice, I would have said, absolutely no, this is not the right time. It's just not the right time, and I'm not going to go there. And we go into our 2-week ayahuasca adventure, and the final. Do you remember I told you, Brian, that the final
Ceremony
no, it was the third time I took the ayahuasca. I lay down, and I was the visions I had were that I was a a child in the womb of the universe, of the earth, and I was connected to it, and I had this umbilical cord attached, and I was so you often don't know why you're scared, but I was scared in this journey that I was going on, and I just kept on being told that I was always taken care of, you're always going to be safe, and I had this umbilical cord attached, and I was in this I was in the womb of the earth. Anyway, and that, that came out, and I analyzed it and never thought anything of it. But ayahuasca also has a way of kind of detoxing you physically and mentally and emotionally. So by the end of those 2 weeks, I was just cleaned of whatever, patterns, and not completely, but certainly in a big way. And then, we obviously came back, and it was a month later, and did the test, and it was all positive, and I was in the absolute shock. I was off to an ashram in San Francisco. I really, it was such a big thing for me, and even then, that was a journey for me, and I think that after you do ayahuasca, it lives inside of you, and it lives inside you for a while.
Literally.
And no, it really does. And there was a very, it's a whole nother thing, but I went through a very tough time when I was in that ashram, a very tough time. And it kicked in at my morning sickness stage of 6 weeks. The ayahuasca was still working. I was in this really incredible space that I had never been in my life before, probably something like a Denali. I really didn't know. It was as though life was just asking me to kind of strip back everything I thought of myself. Who you are, what you do, all your labels, all your indoctrinations. And there was, it was really one of the biggest learning, hardest things I'd ever been through. I was going through morning sickness. I was in a place that I didn't know. I was still kind of working with this ayahuasca, still questioning,
trying to process what happened.
Exactly, and it was amazing. And I did finally get through it. It took maybe 6 weeks. 6 weeks of this feeling, and it was tough. And I had moments where I was, it was tough. And I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I wanted, didn't know anything. And when I came through it, and what I kept on thinking when I was going through it, the only thing that got me through, I couldn't even do yoga, I couldn't do anything. In fact, I didn't want to do anything. There was nothing I wanted to do. Right. And when I was going through it, the only thing that kept me was, I'm obviously experiencing this because I've always been Pollyanna. My whole life I've been Pollyanna. I would look outside, it would be raining, and I'd be like, the trees need the rain. Everything had a silver lining, and I'd never experienced what it might feel like to not be in that space. And I wasn't in that space. And I'd never experienced such a darkness. I could only intellectually relate to people and maybe try and verbally and intellectually try and help people if they were in a dark place. I never had the authentic experience of a dark place myself. And it was that kept me going. I thought life is giving me this experience because I'm meant to feel this. I'm meant to feel in some way at first-hand experience what it feels like to feel like nothing, Like it doesn't matter if I existed or not. It doesn't, and that's how dark it went for me. And then, when I came through and I kept thinking Viktor Frankl, it's like, God, he's in a concentration camp and he did it for other people, and he kind of gave his pain for other people. So that's what I was going through. And when I finally came out, I remember stopping on the side of the road, and it had been raining, and I saw these beautiful iceberg roses. And I knew the cathedral curtains were parting, because I suddenly just loved this little pink and white rose with water droplets on it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And it was like I was back, and I thought, I'm back. I love life, and I loved every moment more. It was like the appreciation, just that I could appreciate, woke up again. And it's a scary feeling when you can't even find the appreciation for appreciation or gratitude for for life. You just don't have it. You don't care. And I knew what that felt like. And then after that, it was bizarre because a couple of people came into my life that were in depressed states, and they were actually, obviously bipolar, and there were people that were going through some very tough things. And I had this experience, and I could actually sit with them and go, I know what that feels like. I've been there. I know what it feels like. I mean, it's not, you don't take away somebody's experience because it will never ever be the same. But at least it wasn't an intellectual, I know, let me help you. It was actually, God, that's hard. I feel you. I've been there. And it makes such a difference. It's like giving somebody you've been through the tunnel, you've been through the forest, you've climbed the mountain, and you're like, been there. Back in, I can do it with you. I can help you through this. And if you're going through something really tough and you say to yourself, I'm experiencing this because down the line somebody's going to walk into my life and they're going to need me, and they're going to need me to have journeyed this journey, not just intellectually. And I say, there's some great teachers out there, some great, there's a great yoga teacher who he is tattooed. He was a drug addict. He was at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And now he teaches yoga, and he has a spiritual, philosophical nature about his teaching. The people that go to him, the people that find him as his teacher, would not be the people who would find me. They go to him because they are, they come from a space where they maybe were exposed to drugs, they took drugs, they had it tough, and they see him as the warrior who will show them the way. So we all are a teacher for different, we're here to inspire different groups of people. What is your experience, and who are you, and who are you going to teach, and who's going to come to you to maybe sort of, be shown the way. And those people that go to him are never going to come to me. I've never been at the rock bottom with a needle in my arm going, God, help me find my way home. And he has. And so that's the teacher. And I think that's the journey, and I'm sure in my life I'm guaranteed I'm going to have so many more of those, but they are like the warrior in you. Okay, I might feel numb right now, but this doesn't exist in it. I will get through it. I'll come out of it, and I'll be able to help somebody with this experience.
Wow, that's a serious story, Sonia. Thank you for sharing that. When do you do?
Pleasure. Now.
There'll be a special extra edition of London Real. I thought about I would have to maybe deliver today, and I just thought, okay, I would get through it with the camera on.
And Google.
And then upload it to iTunes.
I'll hold the towels for you, mate.
Wow. I kind of feel honored that London Real has kind of chronicled Sonia's pregnancy in a weird way, So, because, we first met her right when she came back from the jungle, so that's really trippy. I don't know what to say. I've been so wonderfully surprised by this show. I didn't know what to make. I've never met Deri before, and what a cool trialogue this has been.
Yeah,
so
thank you
so much for coming on. I appreciate
Real pleasure.
it. And Sonia, it's always a pleasure.
It's beautiful. It's really lovely to be here, and really lovely to meet you.
You too.
Love what you're doing, and love that the book's for charity, and I think everybody should, get a copy and get inspired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not necessarily to climb your mountain, but their mountain.
No, that's mental. Try yoga instead. It's much easier.
That she knows. Well, all right. Thank you so much for coming on. And until then, it's about the journey.
It's about the journey.
Thanks.
I was in an open-top car in LA, Sunset Strip, in the evening, with my fabulous mate Simon Moore, who's a writer, up in the hills in LA, and on the radio came one of my favourite songs, which is the Eagles song, Hotel California. Okay.